Go ahead and grab your chairs, get your phones ready, make sure you're all got your snacks, your water, you already went to the bathroom. Do we feel ready?
We're ready.
I love it. All right. So we are about to embark on this amazing candidate forum for Congressional District 24 and State House District 98. I'm going to get better at this in 1 second. I'm very excited. Okay, so we're embarking on our HD 98 candidate forum, which includes U.S. House District 24. I got there. And thank goodness for all of our candidates. Thank goodness we have so many candidates that we get to put on a forum. Isn't that awesome? My name is Allison Campolo. I'm your Tarrant County Democratic Party chair, and I'm so grateful for everybody coming out tonight. I think it's extremely cool that we're getting to have a candidate forum here to get ready for our Democratic primary here in Tarrant County, Texas. And can I just say, what a great week we're having so far. And I know we all know what happened in the SD9 race. I know we all know it's been a historic outcome. He blew it out of the water. He moved that district over 30 points since the last time it was run. And what I hope you all have seen, which applies to these races, what I hope you all have seen is these super cool congressional maps that are like, even if November turns out even somewhat as good as SD9 turned out, guess which races are going blue? Yeah. I'm tremendously grateful that we have so many candidates that we get to do forums. I'm tremendously grateful that we have every single state house district in Tarrant County being challenged, every single U.S. House district being challenged on the Tarrant County ballot this cycle. That is extremely cool and a big achievement for Democrats here in Tarrant County and in Texas. And the fact that we have not one but two candidates in HD 98 is a phenomenal testament to our candidate recruitment ability and our candidates stepping up to serve. And it just couldn't be a better time for Democratic engagement here in Tarrant and in Texas. So we are, without hyperbole, leading the nation, and also without hyperbole, we are easily the most important county here in Texas and in the nation. I hope you've all seen the clips of Tim O'Hare begging for votes. begging, and he just sits in the saddest rooms, and Dan Patrick literally said please 4 times. please vote. Yes. So not that they didn't do that. And so this is a really important time, not only because we're on the rise as Democrats, but also because we're literally fighting for our nation, fighting for our state, for our county. This cycle, we're fighting very literally for our lives and for our neighbors' lives, and this couldn't be more important. And on that note, I'm only doing the welcome address. I'm not your moderator tonight. I'm not the main attraction, so I'll stop very soon. But I want to say on that note, there's nothing more important than party unity. Whatever happens tonight, whatever things are said, however the Democratic nomination goes on the March 3rd primary, the most important thing is that we all get out there and vote for Democrats on November 3rd. So we have seen the last several months what happens when we work together, and we have never, ever worked together so well as we have for the SD9 race. We knew what it would mean if we won, and it's coming to fruition. We are international news, without hyperbole, international news with the SD9 flip. We knew that would be the case if we blew it out of the water, and it is the case. I have to give an enormous shout out to Steve Riddell for pegging the exact amount of votes we were about to get with data analysis, so good job, Steve. So we've never ever worked so well together as Democrats, and it could not be more important that we unify. Come March 4th, we are all one team, one ticket. It doesn't matter if your favorite person won or not, or if they don't exactly come to what you wanted with words they said. We are all Democrats. We're better than the fascists that are murdering citizens in the streets. And this is our time as a team. Of course, today is important. It's important to run our primaries and pick our favorite candidates, but come March 4th, we are all one team. And so, without further ado, let me start doing this. So, we are here to listen to our amazing candidates. Thank you to our HD 98 precinct chairs, who, by the way, year after year after year, kick butt walking your district. Thank you, HD 98. You're amazing. I will tell you, even in the darkest of years, when we lose ground in other districts, HD 98's like, what, I got 30% last time? I got 31% this time. Like, they always move that margin bluer in the most reddest of House districts, and it is extremely impressive. Year after year, they work this district no matter what, rain, sleet, sun, heat, who cares? They're out there working this district, and that shows again in this event that they put on so selflessly. So our forum committee tonight is Hillary Benedetto, Tracy Bristol, Sally Pearson, and Sue Reed. So thank you to them for all their organization. And now let me introduce our inimitable moderator, Sue Reed. Sue Reed is a fierce Tarrant County activist with over 20 years of HR executive experience and a passion for grassroots organizing. She serves on the Let Ladies Lead, a leadership committee, sits on the board of the Tarrant County Democratic Women's Club, and is active in the Northeast Tarrant County Democratic Club. Based in Colleyville, Sue volunteers with the Tarrant County Democratic Party, supports local candidates and precinct chairs, and is always ready to block walk, phone bank, fundraise, or mobilize volunteers. I can vouch for all those things. She has worked on numerous local campaigns and proudly enjoys causing good trouble along the way. Sue Reed. Thank you.
And I should add, I like causing good trouble with a little bit of wine. Like a lot of us. Well, thank you, Allison, and welcome everyone tonight. Welcome to the Tarrant County Democratic Forum. We are so excited to, again, as Allison said, to have multiple candidates running for each of these positions this evening. We know where hope is high and turnout matters. Tarrant County is in play. Right? Again, just ongoing celebration for the fact that we got Taylor Remmett to take over the Senate District 9 in a historic flip in a very red area, again, as Allison alluded to. And somewhere there are some Republican consultants that I think are redoing their resumes. Let's hope, because we're not going to hire them. But this victory didn't happen by accident. It happened because people showed up, people organized. Raise your hand if you were part of one of those campaigns, if you phone banked, if you block walked, if you canvassed, if you donated. This is what it takes for us to win. And we are refusing to accept the idea that Tarrant County is not flippable. We refuse to accept the fact that Tarrant County will not turn blue. Because spoiler alert, it can, and it just did. Yeah. So tonight you're going to hear from candidates who want to build on that momentum and turn one big win into many, many more. So get comfortable, lean in, and remember, this is what progress looks like. So let's get started. Our goal tonight is to introduce you to the Democratic primary candidates that will be on your March 3rd ballot for Texas Congressional District 24 and Texas House District 98. The winner of these primaries will face the Republican challengers for the midterm elections in November. So yes, you're going to be voting again. You voted in November for Taylor, you voted in the special election, you're going to vote again in March, you're going to vote again in May for the school board, in your city council, in your mayor races, and you're going to vote again in November. So buckle up, kiddos.
What's the runoffs?
Or, well, if there's any runoffs, that's right. We might be voting in yet again. We should do like a drinking game with this, like a drinking bingo card or something like that. Well, I'll volunteer to organize that. But in November, as most of you know, the incumbent for CD24 is Beth Van Dyne. Well, I wasn't expecting that response at all. And the Republican candidate or challenger for HD98 will either be Keller Mayor Armin Mizani or businessman Fred Tate, who I think is even more to the right than Armin is. But anyways, we know we're not going to let that happen. So let's talk about what our format's going to look like tonight. We're going to start with Congressional CD24. We're in alphabetical order, and each candidate is going to get 3 minutes to introduce themselves and talk about their primary platform. They will each get then 3 questions, 2 general questions and 1 question more specific to their campaign, in which they will be given 2 minutes to respond. Then we will turn over to some audience questions. Several of you submitted questions online. We had it open at the registration table. Sally Pearson, I think, has extra cards if anyone else wants to ask a question, either to a specific candidate, or if you have a question for all of the candidates, we'll get those addressed as well. And then we'll hear closing remarks, where the candidates will once again be given 3 minutes to give us their closing statement, and then we'll finish up the evening with some other events that we have upcoming. Let me just do a gut check. Can everyone hear me okay? In the back? Okay, good. All right, so let's get started and hear from our primary Democratic candidates. Again, please take 3 minutes to introduce yourself and your platform, and we will start with Jon Buchwald.
Hello, my name is Jon Buchwald, and I am running to unseat Big Bad Beth Van Dyne. So I'm going to talk more about America because America is more important than me, really. And what's happened in the last 10 years is the American dream has been slipping away from people. Costs have gone up, and people have become scared. The health care, people can't get their health care. So what happens when people get scared? They will turn to any solution, including Donald Trump. And this is what has happened to us in America. Fear has taken over. Now, what is the ultimate form of fear? Hate. Fear has translated into hate against immigrants, hate against people who look different from us. That fear that we've seen growing over the last 10 years has translated to the hate that's resulted in deaths in our streets. So what do we do about it? What do I want to do about it? I want to restore the American dream. If we restore the American dream where people feel they have a future, where people feel that they can achieve what they want to achieve, get their health care, and have financial stability, that will quell the fear, and that will quell the hate. So what are the components of the American dream? How do we restore it? We start with financial stability and tax reform. And these are the 5 top-level elements. On my website, you'll find much more detail around this. Next is real-world ready education, because we have to have our kids ready for the real world after a K-12 education. We can't have them living at home after high school. That can't be happening. Cannot happen. Affordable and accessible housing. How do we make housing more affordable? There are many solutions. One of my solutions includes direct seller-to-buyer home loans that allows the seller to collect the interest, allowing them to lower their house price. Those are some of the ideas that we have to think about. We have to think out of the box for this, really. Fair and balanced immigration. Clearly, we can't be treating our immigrants cruelly. We have to have a fair process that streamlines the ability for our immigrants to come here and settle in, or have a fast decision. If we're going to deport them, we don't want to, but if there has to be a fast decision. Lastly, we have affordable and accessible health care. I have a plan that is very easy to pass, that's very scalable and implementable, and I can certainly talk about that as we get through this forum. Thank you, and I ask for your vote this March 3rd.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for braving the Dallas-Fort Worth traffic to be here with us tonight. Much appreciated. My name is Kevin Burge. I am a Marine Corps veteran with 2 tours in Iraq. I'm a Defense Intelligence Agency professional with another tour in Afghanistan. And I finished up 20 years of federal service at the White House as a trusted advisor to President Biden's White House Situation Room. I want to say, first and foremost, that I'm running for Congress for the same reason that you guys are here in this room tonight. And that's because I'm angry. I'm angry that we have done everything right. We've served our communities. We've taken an oath to the Constitution. We've sent our kids to school. We've tried to pay the bills. And yet, on every level, we continue to see attacks and division to our communities that is quite just, it boggles the mind. It really does. And so what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are taking back the power to the people. We need to be bringing back power to Congress and stopping an out-of-control executive branch. And we do that first and foremost by impeaching Trump. But then what? Well, then we need to start to take care of our communities again. We need to stop the hate. We need to stop the division. We need to make things more affordable. We need to make healthcare accessible. We need to make public education quality again so that we can start to build a future that people like my son, my 6-year-old son, can see themselves in. We can be proud to see them in a secure, safe, and prosperous society. And that is the American dream. That is what we are all striving for. So I ask you for your support. I ask that you support a campaign that has already shown wins right here in the district, as we supported Taylor Ramet's race in phone banking, raising over $10,000, knocking doors, and getting out the vote for people like Taylor. We can do that again, and we're going to. We're going to carry that momentum right to the federal level and right to Congress. Yeah. We will flip this seat, and we'll do it together. Yeah. Thank you.
I was going to stay sitting, but both of them stood, so I feel like I need to stand now. Hey guys, I'm TJ. Thank y'all so much for coming out here. Both of these gentlemen, great guys, great candidates, and they said really important stuff that most of us are unified on. So how are we actually going to do it? How are we going to get there? Our number one challenge is, of course, MAGA endorsed, Trump endorsed Beth Van Dyne. And she has a lot of influence around here. She has a lot of influence within certain influential circles. Okay, but people are breaking away from that group every single day. And they're looking for another alternative. So some people within the party have said, let's just mobilize Democrats. And I think we need to mobilize every Democrat we can to get to the polls. But this is the one election where we can take 300 plus seats in the House. This is the opportunity. If we were ever going to do campaign finance in my lifetime, right now is the opportunity to make huge and massive change. Because most of us know that if we get to Congress and we don't have an overwhelming majority and a mandate from the American people to make fundamental changes to the way our federal government works currently, then it's not going to matter what we do. As long as Wall Street is in charge in Washington, we will never get there. And how do I know that? Because I've been working personally with attorneys general, Democratic AGs all over the country for the last 5 years, holding corrupt insurance companies accountable. I was born in Fort Worth, Texas. I went to school over here on the west side of Fort Worth. Was really blessed, even though I lived on the street at 15 years old. I was accepted into a school for gifted kids. Graduated high school early, started working for the Justice Department. That's where I worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Fort Worth on 9/11. And right after that, I also joined the Marine Corps, served in Iraq, and then I've spent the last 15 years as an entrepreneur, building businesses and companies here in North Texas, all across the country. And some of the industries I was in were construction and insurance adjusting. And I saw terrible abuse by insurance companies to property owners all throughout North Texas and the coastal states. And I decided that I was so upset by what I saw that I would begin to fight in Washington. And as I could have imagined, the more I did, the more I learned. And the problems that we have go very deep. But we have to have people that are both knowledgeable, well-connected, willing to work with anybody and everybody that they can work with, and tough enough to go to Washington and make some really hard decisions, because this Congress that one of us hopefully will be blessed enough to be a part of is going to make history, and hopefully our grandchildren will look back and say, thank God that they were willing to stand up then, because we know history. We have access to information. We know what is happening right now. And I'll tell you, when I was in Iraq over 20 years ago, I thought, one day, my generation will be in Congress, and we will make better choices. Thank you, guys.
Good evening, I'm Cate Brennan, and I'm running for House District 98. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to echo all the sentiments that Allison and Sue said earlier. She kind of stole my opening, but that's okay. I am so happy and proud to be part of this historic slate of candidates. I just can't tell you. How I got into this race is I was working an event. I'm a precinct chair, actually a DNL, but precinct chair, committee chair, poll worker, and I'm working an event with another person, and And I said, what's that, you know, how come we don't have anybody in this race? And sooner or later it came out of my mouth, over my dead body, he's gonna run unopposed. And so here I am. That's what you said. A lot of experience. I have 30 years of working with healthcare organizations, nonprofits. So I've been in the room when we're talking at the White House, at Medicare, with Medicaid, and insurance companies. So I bring that to the table, that direct experience. I've been CEO of 2 nonprofit organizations. I've balanced multi-million-dollar budget. A little bit different than Texas, I'll give you that much. But my local advocacy is a passion, and that's gone on for 30 years and not something I could easily give up. What's on my bucket list for you? And these are the priorities. I've knocked an awful lot of doors in the last 3 or 4 years, and it is the school vouchers, it's affordability, and it's healthcare, and I'll throw in another one at the end. So school vouchers have got to go. All right? Charles lead on that. Yeah, why? Because our enrollment in HD 98, every school district, the enrollment is declining, and of course, school vouchers is going to make that even worse. What happens when you have declining enrollment? You have declining funds. What happens with that? You have declining quality and you have declining student achievement. Then what happens? Your housing appraisal is going to go down. So this is a downward spiral that we really need, that it's more than just school vouchers. I mean, it's our community, and it is our future, as some of my colleagues have said. It's the future of our kids. So and number 2 is affordability. How do you do affordability? Number 1, you gotta raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. And it's actually 21, so I'm already negotiating myself down. But housing, study after study, as you know, show that when you increase the minimum wage, that money goes back into the community. Housing affordability is extremely important. Not such a huge issue in House District 98, but it certainly is throughout Texas and our surrounding communities. And there are a lot of things that we can do in here, in our House District 98, should people, already? You're kidding me. All right, well, more to come.
Hey, y'all. My name's Hendley, and I'm running to be your representative for HD 98. I'm a 24-year-old McDonald's worker and former janitor. I was born into the middle class. My dad was an IT consultant for corporations, and he put so much stress on himself trying to provide for my family that he died from a heart attack. Yes. And that caused us to pretty much almost lose everything. And my mom and I, we relied on donations and the generosity of strangers and friends to keep us afloat. And then I was diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and depression. I required medical care. I required health insurance. Well, it was very expensive, so I had to watch my mom struggle year after year trying to get me health insurance. I am here today because I could not and cannot stand by while Republicans talk about culture war issues, while families here, like mine, are struggling. I understand the reality that people are going through here, that you are 1 or 2 disasters away from losing everything. Our healthcare system, let's call it what it is, a racketeering scheme. I am running to create a public plan that functionally replaces private insurance by being so good that no one will want to use private insurance anymore, because it will guarantee you coverage rather than, oh, I don't know, you paying for it and then saying, nah. I'm also running to lessen housing costs. lessen housing costs, because it is absolutely insane that people making $80,000 to $150,000 a year are still 1 or 2 disasters away from losing their homes.
Right.
Yes. So I'm ready to give renters protections, because people can be evicted from their homes by saying "because I said so" by their landlords. And I am ready to give property tax relief and to cut costs for housing insurance. I am also running to fully fund our public schools, actually give our teachers a living wage, because the people shaping the next generation should be able to, afford a home. And lastly, sorry. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
And lastly, I am running to make college tuition free in state.
Right.
Higher education should not be a debt trap. And as well, for school vouchers, because I know that is a huge problem, repealing it. Full stop. It should not exist. No amount of evidence or regulations is going to make it any less of a scam. Folks, Taylor Ramet won. He won this district because he talked about the issues that are actually affecting families rather than trying to defend the status quo. And that's why I'm here. I am here not to be a manager of the old system, but win.
Another round of applause for all of our candidates for stepping up and being on the ballot. Thank you, everyone. That was wonderful. Our first question of the evening will be the same for each one of the candidates. Again, we're going to begin with our CD24 panel and work our way through the HD98 candidates. And the first question, as I said, is the same for everybody. As most of us in this room know, Texas is not a red or a blue state. We are a non-voting state. In fact, Texas is the largest state in the country with millions of eligible Texans sitting out each election cycle, particularly our young people, working class, and our minorities. Low turnout is driven primarily by barriers such as voter suppression laws, our lack of access to polling places, and just overall voter apathy. So the question to our candidates on our dais this evening: how will your campaign actively engage Texans who don't vote, particularly those who might feel ignored, discouraged, or disconnected from the political process? What specific strategies will you use to build trust, reduce barriers, and/or bring new voters into our democracy? 2 minutes, please.
Well, let's talk about CD24. I've talked to thousands of voters in CD24. This plan did not come from me, did not come from the party, not a lobbyist, not a Democratic club, not an activist. This is the culmination of my conversations with CD24. People want something to vote for. What I'm going to give them is what they want. When I go to the door and knock on the door and we show them this, they say, yeah, that looks really familiar. This plan came directly from CD24. People will get engaged when they realize that they're voting for their own plan. And that's a key to success. Let's allow the voters to vote for their own plan. And secondarily, yeah, we have to make people aware. We have to make it easier to get to the polls, giving people rides. But most importantly, let's give people something that they're going to vote for, that they recognize, and a plan that they own. That's exactly what this is. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, that's exactly what it comes down to. We need to get people something that they are excited to vote for. And I'm not talking about some milquetoast, moderate, Republican light policies. If that's the case, we might as well just keep the Republicans in there. We need to have bold leadership and a vision for what we want as a community to be in law. People are struggling right now with health care. We need universal health care. right now we have ICE agents killing people in the streets. We need them gone.
Yeah.
There is no time to sit back and try to do the same things that we have done over and over again. It's time for boldness. Now, the Republicans are absolutely going to try to mess with our elections. We've seen it, we're seeing it, and we're going to see it. And so let me tell you something. My campaign, it's the only one here in this primary that can claim this. We have lawsuits ready to go so that when we start to see on election day that the Republicans are messing with our polling, they're messing with our voters, we can file suit. We will protect the integrity of this election. We're going to do it, and thank you so much.
Well, my plan is that we win the election so we don't have to file suit, but I think that it's important that we focus on voter apathy because those other things are important, and historically that has happened a lot in the United States, but today we do have the means to get people to the polls despite all the draconian things that the Republicans in Tarrant County try to do. People have to care, people have to feel like we have a chance to win, and that's why what happened this past weekend is a bit of a game changer. Perception-wise, and it encourages and energizes people here in North Texas. A lot of people in North Texas just could never envision Tarrant County going blue at all, and they felt like, what's the point in voting if that's what's going to happen? I've been talking to tons of voters too, and they said, we've given money, we've heard all these promises, and it hasn't been fulfilled. And really, I feel like just now as people are almost ready to give up, they became so pissed off by what's going on in Washington and with Donald Trump and the Epstein files and stuff like that, that they are giving it another shot, and they're going to say, you know what, we're going to put it all out there for democracy and for freedom. Now, when it comes to moderate Republicans, what's a moderate Republican? I don't even know what that is. We have MAGA, which is so far alt-right that I'll call them Nazis in their face. Nazis vote for their party. It's the truth. So, birds of a feather, I'm sorry. And then we have people on the left that are all over the place. Really, most Americans, 80% of Americans agree on most of the major things. Right now, we have a war that's dividing us top to bottom, and people are falling for constant, divisive rhetoric all over the place. Fortunately now people have been forced to stop and think because the MAGA Republicans have gotten so unbelievably terrible and vile. We look at them and we say, how can you act this way? And it's because of their echo chamber. So let's show everybody a better alternative and move forward and really turn Texas blue.
Thank you, TJ. Cate, again, the question for you and Aaron is, how will your campaign actively engage Texans who don't vote, particularly those that feel ignored, discouraged, or disconnected from the process?
Thank you for that question. Okay, so first thing you got to do is you got to go where the voters are. You know, you can't just do everything you have to be everywhere all at once, kind of like that movie. Okay, so block walking, there's a 20% higher chance that they're going to vote if they get out and meet a candidate or if somebody comes to their door. It's social media, it's going to the gym, it's now part of, I have to put my other hat on, as part of chair of outreach for Tarrant County Democratic Party. We do voter registration. So that's a huge part of it, and mobilizing the people on that list to go to churches, to go to gyms, to go to the dog park. Where are the young people and anybody else who is not registered going to vote up? The other thing, and you make a really good point, is you have to have an issue that excites them and something that they can say, yeah, that's it. And I love policy. I'm a policy nerd. I think you already figured that out. But it is, what does that translate to? Okay, if we take even 50% of the $4.6 billion that goes into Operation Lone Star and put it into child care, what does that do? And so trying to bring that down to everyone's level so that they can understand, oh, that does affect me. Oh, maybe I ought to vote down ballot. Just getting out, talking to people, listening to them, and making sure that there is more than one issue that excites them and they know this is going to affect me. This is the change that I want and I need in my community and in my life, because it's all personal. Thank you.
This is a question that's been running around in my head since I started this. I asked myself, why is suburbia red? Why is it that when Republicans do everything the opposite of what people want, destroy people's stability in their lives, why does suburbia keep voting for them? It's because they feel disenfranchised. They feel like no one is actually speaking to their issues and the problems that they are having, and they don't have a candidate to believe in. If previous Democrats who ran on the status quo, if that actually worked, then Texas would be blue by now, but that's not the case. So what we need to do is that we need to go to voters, actually go to them, like Cate said, and talk to them, tell them about our policies and how they can tell them things that they can actually believe in, and we'll get them to either volunteer and go out and vote. We also need to make our presence on social media, social media presence needs to be huge. We need to coordinate with local groups like Young Devs, Northeast Democrats, Women's Club. All of them are vital in making sure that we can actually get people organized and coordinated to actually do a good job of getting people out to vote.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think we saw components of each of the items that all the candidates mentioned be successful in Taylor Remit's campaign. And so I think all of you mentioned the things that we see that can work here in Tarrant County to continue that blue wave coming in here. Now let's go on to some key issues currently facing all of us. We're going to start with some individual questions. So each candidate is going to get a slightly different question, but so we can see a response on a broader array of topics. So Jon, starting with you, we're going to talk a little bit about affordability. It's not a hoax. We know that. When we have seen Americans grow increasingly concerned and apprehensive about the state and future of our economy. Affordability, economic security, and job growth are major concern for our voters. Jon, what federal policies would you stop, support, or introduce to benefit working families in CD 24?
Well, this may sound surprising to you, but one of the key issues that's driving food costs, anyone know what's really driving food costs? It's not just tariffs, but it's retaliation to tariffs. China controls a lot of the products that are used by farmers, things like nitrates to grow food. What do they do in retaliation? They cut off supply. What happens when you cut off supply? That cost goes straight to you. So getting us out of trade wars is absolutely critical to everyday affordability. Now, what about housing? Housing is a matter of supply and demand, okay? What we need to do on the supply side is we need to make it easier for developers to start new developments. One other thing we need to do, private equity steps in and buys a lot of homes. A federal policy that I would support is right of first refusal for individual home buyers when there is a redevelopment effort. This is so important that we give individuals the first right to make the purchase and keep private equity out. Sometimes there's no choice. You have to have. Sometimes there's no choice, right? If it's a badly dilapidated neighborhood, nobody wants to buy there. Sometimes you have the private equity come in, but individuals have to have that first right. That's a key to making housing more affordable and staying out of those trade wars. That's going to keep your grocery prices lower, despite it may not be readily apparent, but that is a key. Thank you.
Kevin, John just touched on this briefly, talking about tariffs and how they've raised costs on everyday goods, from our home groceries and household items to the raw materials that our manufacturers use. All of this directly impacts our costs to our families and certainly to small businesses. Kevin, how do you weigh the role of tariffs and global trade policy in driving affordability issues? And what changes would you advocate for in Congress to lower the costs for North Texas families?
Great, so tariff specific, let's just start here. Tariffs are a tax on us, the consumer. All right, and not only is it a tax on us, but it is also an unlawful tax that did not come from Congress. All right, it's part of the package of Congress abdicating their role as a co-equal branch. So what we need to do is scrap the general blanket tariffs, which has done nothing but hurt us as consumers and also the reputation of the United States. Now, tariffs are not necessarily a bad thing. Targeted tariffs, especially when it comes to something like, something very specific like national defense items that we don't want made in China. Well, yeah, absolutely. We need to make sure we're protecting those industries. And I will say that one of those biggest industries is right here in North Texas. We have Lockheed Martin, we have Bell, we have a lot of defense contractors. Those items need to be made in America. They also provide really good jobs that drive economic development just across the board and will help people in their wages. So yes, again, tariffs right now as it stands, bad. And what we need to do is be very select with them, get rid of them, and package that also with some domestic policy that helps lift people up. Minimum wage absolutely needs to be raised. Absolutely. So we package the things that help people right here, and then we take back Congress, we re-implement their co-equal branch, and we stop this attack on the consumer.
It sounds like we have some candidates that are ready to not abdicate their responsibilities to the president, unlike our current GOP, and that's good to hear. TJ, again, we're going to kind of keep on this affordability issue, but we're going to transition a little bit to energy costs that continue to skyrocket and pressure all of our pocketbooks. Plus, we feel the extra pressure here in Texas anytime we get any cold weather because of the lack of reliability in our own Texas grid, which I learned the hard way through the freeze of 2021, that we are the only state that is not on the national grid, and I still get PTSD whenever ever one of those polar vortexes comes down here. But given all of that, TJ, how should Congress respond to climate change, and what actions should be taken to lower energy costs while ensuring reliable energy infrastructure?
Thanks for that question. Well, I actually do have some expertise here. I advocate for an all-of-the-above energy plan right now. Texas, we're a very large petroleum-producing state, but this weird thing happened over the last 20 years where there became this perception that renewables had to be heavily subsidized by the government to be successful, and petroleum was able to go out there and make its own way, which is so untrue. When you start digging into finance, hundreds of billions of dollars a year goes directly to petroleum and subsidies, and now this administration is cutting wind projects all over the country, and they're pulling support for solar and other types of renewables. Now, I had a solar company here in Dallas-Fort Worth in 2014, which was pretty early to be doing solar in Dallas-Fort Worth. It was hard to get people here to adopt it, and part of it is because of the stupid rhetoric, okay? I rented a booth out of Texas Motor Speedway trying to sell solar in 2014, and they were like driving by and like blowing diesel smoke on me. It was so ridiculous, and it made me very sad because at the time we had our customers, they were on a 3 to 5 year break even with another 20 years of free energy. Now what happened was they need some more regulation in the finance area of solar, because solar itself is a great value. Unfortunately, the banks and financiers have come in and partnered with door-to-door people that charge you way, way, way too much for what you should get. So if we have a national policy that's actually focused on affordability and renewables, because renewables is actually a very good source of energy for a lot of different reasons, as long as we can push aside certain interests that have dominated our energy landscape for over a century.
Excellent. Now let's turn to our House District 98 candidates with some more specific state and county questions. And Cate, I'm going to go to you with a question about education, which you spoke passionately about earlier. While already ranking near the bottom in per student funding, Texas public schools are facing chronic underfunding, teacher shortages, and increasing state mandates that aren't covered by the monies they get from the Texas legislature or by our property taxes, which are all projected to worsen since the passage of school vouchers. So Cate, how would you fight for adequate school funding, teacher retention, and local control if you're in the state Texas legislature?
Yeah, big question.
30 words or less.
Yeah, 30 words or less, big question. Okay, so, again, repeal of the school voucher issues and once that's repealed, fund the school budget on the 25-26 budget, which is, okay, fully funded, but Texas ranks, like you said, in the bottom. So, as far as how to make that happen, how to fund it, it's not hard, okay? Politically, it's hard. If you're going to cut property taxes, like Mayor Mazzani says, oh, let's just cut all property taxes, and Abbott has a plan for boards to cut property taxes. You have to replace that revenue with something else, and what do? So I am a proponent of legalized gambling, sportsbook and casino gambling, as well as legalization of cannabis and the continued businesses, billion-dollar businesses with the CBD. So that's how you do it. We just have to fund the schools more. I totally agree with Aaron that the free tuition to community colleges and technical schools are important. The teacher retention, you have to get Texas Education Agency out of the classroom and return the curriculum and local control to the administrators and to the teachers. Now, with the differences in STAR, there'll be a little bit better classroom time. It's basically the same amount of hours, but that creativity and allowing teachers to do their job is what is needed to improve retention and student scores. Thank you.
Excellent. I think the young Dems and some of us older Dems both like the cannabis response.
Come on down.
And some are no comment. We won't reveal anything. Okay, Aaron, we're going to switch to you now. HD 98 is, as most of us know, because most of us, I think, live here in HD 98, obviously, is a very diverse and dynamic district. Aaron, what are the key challenges that you think are most impacting small business owners and workers in District 98? And what state policies would you support to help address them?
Well, to be perfectly honest, this is the one subject that I'm not too informed of. I have to research it more. What I do know is the costs are way too high for businesses and, well, workers in general. For workers, I support a minimum wage that's the minimum to live indexed to where you live. Yes. And because everyone should have a living wage. And for your small business owners, I would love to hear from you guys about what you are facing so I can help you out.
Thank you, candidates, for your thoughtful responses. And so now let's discuss some more campaign-specific topics that speak to your individual platforms. We're going to allow the same format, 2 minutes for each response. And Jon, again, we're going to start with you. You've already started talking a little bit about it this evening and talking about how your campaign stresses a SMART government framework. SMART standing for scalable, measurable, accountable, responsible, and transparent, to ensure that federal programs deliver results and that taxpayers get value for every dollar. So Jon, in practical terms, can you give one concrete example of a federal program you believe needs your SMART style reform? And how would you measure success for that program if you were in office?
Okay, so I'll give you one example, okay? We have a serious problem with healthcare, right? It's serious. How do we create a fast path to universal healthcare? There are a lot of paths to universal healthcare. We don't have it now. We need a fast path. One of my proposals that would fall under smart government is free primary care. Why? It's easy, it's scalable, and if you go into Congress and you say, hey, shouldn't everybody have a doctor? That's really hard to argue with. So my healthcare plan starts with free primary care supported by catastrophic Medicaid, so that you never go broke from your health problems. Where did this come from? I spent 18 years consulting globally in high-tech and healthcare. I've seen healthcare systems all over the world, and I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. And when I look at what can we do with healthcare, our fastest and best path to universal care start with free primary because it's scalable. It's similar for everybody. That's what makes it scalable and makes it very easy to implement. Same with the catastrophic Medicaid. You get sick, it's a catastrophic case. You don't go broke. You start there and then you fill in the pieces in between. That to me is our fastest and best path to universal health care. That is an example of smart government. Thank you.
Yes, it would be. Yes, it would be. Well, that actually is a nice segue into the question we selected for you tonight, Kevin, regarding your campaign. One of your big key platform concepts includes supporting the Medicare for All and women's reproductive rights. Given that the GOP and Congress have repeatedly attacked and further dismantled the key components of the Affordable Care Act, most recently any kind of subsidies that help people actually afford health care, how would you work across a divided Congress to advance healthcare affordability and reproductive rights at the federal level beyond just concepts of a plan?
All right, so yes, I agree. Well, first and foremost, let's put this out here, all right? We're gonna flip the House this time. We're gonna have a majority of Democrats. And so, as far as reaching across the aisle, let's just put it this way. At this point, Republicans are gonna be reaching across the aisle to us. Now, I agree that healthcare is a huge issue. I've had run-ins with the doctor myself. And, you know, when I got injured, one of the times I got injured, I had to think about, as I was sitting there in pain, if I was going to call an ambulance. And that shouldn't be what goes through somebody's mind when they need a doctor. It's, I need to get help. And so while I agree that we do need universal health care, I believe that the most logical way to get there is through an already established Medicare option. All right? Everyone, almost everyone here knows somebody on Medicare. Yes, it's a system. It works. And so what I propose doing is to scale it properly. We need to start bringing people into it. And first and foremost, I think we need to bring in our doctor staff. My stepmom is a nurse. She has horrible health care. Let's bring our medical professionals. Let's bring on our first responders. Let's bring on our military and teachers as well. And then let's scale it. Every 5 years, we bring in another 10 years of age range into this program until we have a program that works for everybody and healthcare that covers all. Thank you.
We can all dream a little dream, and we can get closer to reality if we can get some of our Democrats across elected into the Congress. Thank you, both of you. So TJ, your question has to do with some issues regarding your campaign that we think we just need to talk a little bit about. And that there have been some very publicly circulated allegations and statements of concern regarding some verbal and physical abuse by you towards your partner and some family members. These concerns have been widely circulating in the community and have been discussed by yourself online and social media and elsewhere. Obviously, in public service, it requires some trust, some character, and transparency. Given the seriousness of these allegations and the impact they may have on voters' confidence, why do you believe that you're still the best candidate to represent CD24? And how should voters evaluate personal conduct when choosing their nominee?
Well, Sue, thank you for that question. So, I have been going through a high conflict divorce for a few years. My ex and I are both very headstrong people, and I've been in a new relationship with my girlfriend for 2 years now. And I think anytime there's an allegation of impropriety or abuse or anything like that from a public official or someone seeking public office, it merits being looked into in more depth. It really does. Unfortunately, my experience so far was that although some people did talk about it, they didn't look into it in depth at all. Right now, those videos are the subject of a criminal investigation and a defamation suit because they are lies. Now, you can take there's 10,000 clips of me on the internet. I have 178,000 followers on TikTok, literally 10,000 clips of me on the internet. And there are 4 that have been edited to look very bad and unflattering. Now, I'll be glad to sit down with somebody on a podcast or a long-form content where we can sit down and talk about that. Heck, Brooke and I can sit down and talk about it together. You can see that she's here with me because I support her, I stand by her, and I am somebody that, despite being a combat veteran, despite coming from a really tough background, I have put hundreds, or actually thousands of hours into therapy, into EMDR over the last several years, into both working with mental health providers and working with some of the national experts on addressing nervous system issues. And it's because I've been out there advocating for a 10x increase in federal mental health spending because I am someone who has dealt with issues. I am someone who was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And unfortunately, right now, I'm in a situation where some things are easy to use against me because I'm a very public person. Like I said, some of this will be fought in the courts, and so I hope that people will either withhold judgment or come talk to me. I'm a very approachable person. I'm a down-to-earth person, and I work hard for the constituents. I work hard for my family, and it's regretful that some of that has come into the public view, but honestly, it's not that I didn't expect some of this. If you've been going through a high conflict divorce for years and fighting over companies and kids and everything else, and then you're running against someone like Beth Van Dyne, I think that it would be foolish for me to get into this race not expecting to have to answer some of those questions, but I'm one of those people that will gladly answer those questions.
Thank you for giving us a response tonight and addressing some of the concerns. We appreciate it. Cate, As a senior executive with national nonprofit healthcare associations for over 25 years, you understand that Texas leads the nation in uninsured residents. We are one of only 10 states that have refused to expand Medicaid, which is crazy under the Affordable Care Act. We are one of 10. And as a result, the 2024 census tells us that almost 14% of Texas children and 22% of Texas adults lack healthcare insurance or coverage. With both of those numbers are roughly twice or double what the national rates are. Cate, how would you work to build bipartisan support to Medicaid expansion in a legislature that's very divided, where it has repeatedly failed? And what would you say to voters who worry about access to health care and their increasing costs?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Healthcare, yes, is a very, as my colleagues have said, a very complicated issue. So the first thing on reaching across the aisle, trying to find some commonalities. First, we got to get rid of Abbott. Let me just stop there. And so it starts there, and we have to really have more seats in the House and in the Senate. Thank you, Taylor. So then it's applying pressure and just keep after him. Find the caucuses, find the coalitions that are out there that using the numbers, how much money Texas is leaving on the table by not expanding Medicare. Expanding access, particularly, I worked for the pediatric nurse practitioners for 6 years and athletic trainers for 11, I think. So, kids are pretty important to me from and their health care. So the community-based clinics are important. I think that we could use some of this new revenue that I'd like to get on board to incentivize the primary care, the maternal health, and the pediatric health in community, in clinics, to deliver that care. So primary care is really important because, it's all about the wellness, it's getting your flu shots, etc. So that sort of thing is really important. And so expanding the Medicaid, focusing on maternal health and child health, if maybe we can do it in increments so that the program for maternal and child health we're working on, it's not just the first 5 years, it's 10 years. And so a stepped approach with that. But I believe that community health centers and lowering the cost of drugs and having those available, access to care is critically important, but with primary care. Thank you.
Yeah, I know it's a lot. I think a big concern for everyone in this room and on the stage tonight. Yes, Texas has been successful in bringing business to our state, but at some point, does our lack of affordable housing, healthcare, women's reproductive rights create a tipping point where employers will refuse to want to come here? Yeah, the company may want to because they're going to get huge tax rebates, but then their employees aren't going to want to move here because they can't get access to some of the basic things we've been talking about tonight. So thank you for that. Aaron, our final campaign question goes to you. Your platform emphasizes the need for affordable housing, calling it a key necessity, and you've touched on it briefly already tonight. District data shows that median home values and rents in HD 98 specifically are significantly higher than many parts of Texas, and certainly in the DFW area, which puts pressures on both homeowners and especially renters. So Aaron, how would your approach help reduce the cost burden for working families here without discouraging new housing developments and or investments?
Well, for homeowners, I support homestead exemptions and targeted relief for them. For renters, it's a cap on how much large landlords, 5 or more properties, can increase rent yearly. It would be capped about 5% from last year's. And as well as I said previously before, giving actual protections to to renters. Now, about the not discouraging people from building here, making sure that people can actually afford the home that they want is not going to stop people from building here. In fact, it's going to make people actually build here because people will actually come to this district and want to buy a home in the first place.
Thank you again to all of our candidates. Another big round of applause for answering all of those different questions. We're now going to turn this evening over to the audience questions, which a round of applause for Caroline Shermine, our chairperson for HD 98, extraordinaire, all of these chairs here, and one of my many political mentors. All right, oh my goodness. Which order do you want me to go in? Okay. 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 Let me just, all right, we've got, all right, all kinds of. I'm glad I brought my readers. All right, so our first question, and this is for our HD 98 candidates. What information can you share about the SAVE legislation currently proposed by the Republicans that restricts women from voting if their birth certificate doesn't match their legal ID? If they took their husband's last name and they got married, they're gonna have to reprove their eligibility to vote. This is currently in the legislature right now, so.
Pure insanity is what it is. Voting is a human right, full stop, no matter who it is for. So, and the SAVE Act is all about controlling women's voices. Because women typically vote Democrat because, surprise, surprise, they are going to vote for the party that isn't going to strip your rights away from you. The problem is, if it does go through, we are going to have to, well, sorry for my language here, organize like hell so we can get women to be able to vote again despite their attempted voter suppression. So.
What he said. Just kidding. Okay. Well, as a woman who has changed her name multiple times. Okay, Brennan's the maiden name, and I'm sticking with it this time. All right, yeah, it's insanity. What do you do? What you do is you gotta get the word out. You gotta make sure that women know, young women in particular, this is a problem. But it's women everywhere. I mean, you have to find your partners. That's number one. You have to find partners to get the word out, to mobilize, to get people to the State House, to lobby against this, to raise hell. And this could be an issue for our wonderful indivisible groups, that that it gets the word out there. I mean, they've done an absolutely marvelous job of that. I don't know any other way other than going down and protesting and lobbying our legislators to not move that forward and show up at committee hearings, etc.
Excellent, thank you. The next question, I'm going to kind of combine a few of the questions that came in, and this is for each of our CD24 questions. So we'll let TJ go first with this one. And essentially there's several questions surrounding the issue of what differentiates you from other Democratic candidates, and what makes you the best person to run against Beth Van Dyne, who we know is going to be heavily funded with a lot of dark PAC money?
Thank you for that. So we need somebody who is going to get out there and really meet a lot of people and win them over. We need somebody who is honestly good on camera, who knows how to rally a lot of people, who knows how to network, and who knows how to get things done. Some people, listen, ground game is important, and very important, right? Ground game is incredibly important. But my social media presence was 10,000 times greater than both of theirs combined when this started. I have built out a digital advertising infrastructure for myself and fellow Democratic candidates, although unfortunately few people have taken me up on it. I've done, a few $100 million in sales on Facebook, so I thought to myself, I'm going to come volunteer all my time and work for all these other candidates and help us all get together on the same page so that we can outmaneuver MAGA, because MAGA has kicked our butts on social media. Listen to your uncle at Thanksgiving. They have done things no one ever thought imaginable when it comes to making people think certain things. Well, it's time to get real smart and real serious and work together, because we're about to lose the last chance we have in freedom if this doesn't go the right way. And social media is the best way that we can get out there in front of tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of people. Has it also been used against me? Yes. But I'm willing to put myself out there because I know that I have the reach, I have the relationships, and I've been working on Capitol Hill for 5 years. I understand how these people think. I understand what makes them tick. And the biggest thing they're afraid of is the American people in large numbers. Thank you.
Can you ask that question one more time, please?
Basically, what differentiates you as a Democratic candidate for this race, and how will you strategize to beat Beth Van Dyne?
Thank you very much. So I mentioned a lot of the experience that I have within the government. That's 20 years of federal experience. And that's in-depth, day-to-day, working knowledge of the federal government. I've been there. I know how it works. But what we really need to do is not just go and get in front of a camera and then leave. We need to be there with people on a daily basis and in every chance possible. And I can't tell you how many times I've been at an event and they had to kick me out because I wanted to keep staying and talking to people. I absolutely loved it. I love people. And so we need to be there. We need to reach people where they are. And it's one thing to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm thinking of doing or planning. I have a concept of a plan, right? But we have done it. My campaign has helped Taylor Ramett get elected. We have phone banked 30 volunteers when ICE hit. We called up phone banks, and we had people calling from all over the country to get people out to the polls. It's shown. I've already been talking and collaborating with down-ticket candidates. Yusik Warku is here from HD 91. Let's give it up. That's going to be my representative right there. And we're going from the county clerk, Nathan Smith. He's an awesome guy. And so we're bringing people together already in a contested primary. It's something that my campaign is ready to do and to continue it until we flip this district. We have to be tight this year. We have to be on our game, and it's going to take everyone in this room. So thank you. Join me. Let's do it together.
So, I am the consummate political outsider. I have no machine to back me. I came into this race as an outsider. Nobody knew me. I built an incredible base of support so far with ardent supporters. How have I done that? By going door to door and listening to people and building a platform from them. Why is my campaign going to win? People are going to vote for their own platform. That's reason number one. Reason number two is the candidate. I spent 18 years in high tech and healthcare, and I've been a successful entrepreneur. I'm a professor at both UT Dallas and SMU in the Cox School of Business, and I am able to relate to the people in District 24, which is the highest income in the state. People outside this room are different than the people in here. If you're going to send somebody out to campaign out there, I'm the guy you want to send out there. Now let's talk about Congress. Congress is a broken organization. I spent years fixing broken organizations. I recognize one. Congress has forgot what? Who their boss is. That's us. They have forgot that. Congress has forgot how to listen to one another. That's why we have stalemates in Congress, and Congress has forgot about listening to us. I am the only candidate with the experience in changing and fixing broken groups of people and organizations that has the experience that we need in Washington right now. We need to fix a broken organization. I'm the only one that can do that, and I am the only candidate that can actually relate to all of CD 24. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's switch to the HD 98 candidates, and we've had, again, a couple of varieties of the same question come in. Essentially, we will be looking at who is financing your campaigns, because major donors influence politicians. And we certainly know where a lot of money in Texas comes from two key West Texas billionaires. For Cate and for Aaron, what is your commitment about campaign finance?
Okay, campaign finance, I would like to have my own billionaire, to tell you the truth. Mark Cuban, if you're listening.
Is that Soros?
He won't come back to you.
No, he's not going to get back to me. But, I've looked at the ethics report for both Mazzani and Tate, and it's pretty frightening. They are backed by Dunn and the other billionaires and taking campaign. So if the Sands Casino or another large PAC wants to contribute a good amount of money to my campaign, I'll take it. There's only two PACs that I can think of offhand I would not take money from, and that's the Israeli PAC and the Palestinian PAC, because you can't choose sides. I believe Palestinians have a right to self-determination as well as the Jewish people. So, but because of the conflict in Gaza, those are the only two I would not. So far, my campaign contributions have come from family and friends, and I'm hoping that they'll continue to do that.
Aaron, your thoughts on campaign finance?
There is a quote that goes, "Money is the root of all evil." Well, corporate PACs are the root of corruption in politics. So I refuse to call them corporate PACs. I call it legalized bribery. I am not taking any money from corporations at all. They can get that, as far as I'm concerned. My donations come specifically from small-time donors or organizations such as Young Dems, Progressive Caucus, people who get their donations from grassroots people, not corporations.
Excellent. Let's pass the mic to TJ. We've got a couple varieties of this question for Mr. Ware, and they have to do with regarding your voting record. We have been told that you wanted to primary Beth Van Dyne and could not. Your voting record is mixed, and so how can we be sure that you are ready to carry Democratic principles forward, despite the fact that you call yourself or define yourself a conservative Democrat?
All right, first of all, who told you that?
I'm just asking the questions on the cards.
Because that's not true at all. Listen, I'll tell you what I've said to people. I've said to people, even if I wanted to run as a Republican, they wouldn't let me because I won't swear allegiance to Donald Trump. That's the only thing I've said. But I was a Republican until like 2015, 2016, and then I said, what the hell is going on? And I stepped back, and when it was Trump versus Hillary, I voted for Gary Johnson because I thought, I'm tired of this two-party bullshit. And watch this, because 20% of America is going to follow me. Well, I was wrong. But I'm very big supporter of pluralism. I do believe that the parties themselves, including our own, have worked to treat politics and life as a zero-sum game for too long, and that does not serve the interests of the American people. That being said, since the 2018 midterm, I have gone and voted straight Democrat on every ballot, every major election. Since then, I've worked out of the state a lot, so I haven't always been here to vote. But when I saw the authoritarian desires of the people on the right, starting in 2016, I have completely sided with and voted with Democrats consistently ever since, because my ideas align 100 times more with the Democratic Party than anything that comes out of MAGA.
This question we're going to ask to each of our CD24 candidates. If we could start with Jon for this one. Well, let's start with Kevin. Let's give Kevin a chance to answer one first. He's been the middle child tonight. We'll get him out of that. This is a really interesting one. In recent years, we've seen the convergence of the military and the tech sector. And tech bros, tech billionaires, get in bed with the government. So when you win, what will you do to check the tech sector's growing power? And I'm going to add a personal addition to that. What will you do to check the tech sector's growing power, and how will you address the growing potential threat of AI?
Wow.
There's no bots in here, right?
Well, I like to call them techno lords because they believe in some sort of weird feudalism, from what I can tell from their theology. I'm currently a cybersecurity professional. I work for Caterpillar. I've done cybersecurity, technology security for a very, very long time. And so, regulations are a very big part of the tech world. All right, you have to become compliant in order to secure your systems, to secure information, to secure your information. With NIST is one. I'm sorry, I'm getting super nerdy. But think of HIPAA, but for technology. So we need to make sure that we're cracking down on the use of technology and in really your personal information, because when personal information gets released and gets aggregated and stored, it becomes ripe for abuse. And so that's where we really are. We need to have laws and policies in place that limit the amount and the types of information that's collected on us so that we can stop the power from the top. Now, AI data centers, all right. I know that some people have said that AI is going to be a bubble, like the .com bubble, but it's not, all right? The .com bubble was a financial bubble, not a technology bubble. And I can prove that to you because right now, you can go on your phone to kevinfortexas.com and you can see my information, donate and volunteer, please. And the technology is here and it's growing, and that's what's going to happen with AI. So we need to make sure that we're regulating, we're diversifying our energy sources to account for that type of power consumption. And we need to have regulations in place to account for water usage as well, as these data centers suck up these resources.
Okay, show of hands. How many people know how government contracts really happen? Raise your hand. What happens is the sales rep goes in and shapes the RFP, which is the proposal. We got to stop that. That's why certain companies have an advantage when they go in for government contracts. I used to sell into the government. I've sold into multiple governments. What you do is you go in, you shape the proposal so it looks like your technology. That's how it works. That's got to stop, okay? We need regulations against that. Let's talk about AI. AI is a weapon of war It's a weapon of intellectual war used by other countries against us. What do? They cycle disinformation, they disrupt elections. What I want to do, every social media platform should have this. Every piece of content on every social media platform should have a rating. We can use technology to develop a rating system that includes the veracity and the probability that the content was generated by AI. That should be forced upon all these big tech companies, your Instagrams, your Facebooks, all these social media platforms, so that people can see, are you being duped by AI? What is the likelihood that what you're seeing is true? If we don't do that, people will continue to live in a world of disinformation, and our enemies overseas will be able to do more and more to disrupt elections and to shape our thinking. That's got to end.
That's good. I mostly agree. They call it digital watermark. I know this because, well, I own a data company in Roanoke, but also because since, I think in 2022, I started working pretty heavily with the National Association of Attorneys General. And at that time, they had some advocacy groups that came in to help guide them on regulating AI by embedding a digital watermark in every piece of AI content when it's created. There's a lot of really good things that have come out of the National Association of Attorneys Generals and our AGs across the country. They're the ones that took down Big Pharma and the opiates. They're the ones that took down tobacco. And they're actually probably going to be the ones to put away a lot of these Trump admin officials, because they're going to have federal pardons. And guess what? After the Tina Peters attempt, we see that they're not going to roll those federal pardons down to the states. So you guys pay attention to your Democratic attorneys general all around the country. They are going to help guide us through this mess. At those meetings, Meta and their reps are there at the table with me. And at first I was surprised because I would be at lunch and we're sitting here talking about how we regulate AI, how we regulate Instagram to keep young people healthy, to stop suicide, to stop cyberbullying, to stop all of these things that are happening. And I was surprised to see the lobbyists and representatives from those companies sitting at lunch with me. So what I do, I start making friends with people and asking questions. And I was very disheartened that when the administration switched from the Biden administration to this that we have now, all of those attempts to regulate these technologies were thrown to the wayside because people like Peter Thiel of Palantir, they don't believe in democracy. Peter Thiel is a monarchist. We got to get tough with some of these guys, or it's not going to matter who's in charge. We're all going to be screwed in the long run.
We're gonna wrap up the audience question with one final question, and we're gonna tweak it just a little bit so that we address it at the state and at the national level. If I didn't get to your question, I apologize. We had so many good ones, but just know the candidates will be available in the back of the room. So if we didn't get to your question, please feel free to address that individually with your candidates as well. But thank you for the robust participation with that. So I want to end the audience part talking about immigration. That's certainly been in the front headlines, in front of our minds for all of us. I know we all appreciate the stance that Minneapolis has taken and lessons to be learned from all of them. And immigration will continue to be one of the most pressing and polarizing issues in our country, particularly here in North Texas, where both the border and the economic impacts converge. Being Texas is on the border, so many of those immigrants do work here in North Texas, supporting the businesses that are up here. So let me start with the HG 98. Aaron, I'm going to go with you first, if I could. What do you suggest we do at the local level to counter ICE initiatives? What would you like to see happen from a policy perspective?
Let's be clear, ICE is a criminal organization that murdered Renee Good and executed Alex Pretty in the street. Been kidnapping and trafficking immigrants to countries not known for their stellar record of human rights. So we cannot, we have to defend our immigrant brothers and sisters. I have worked with many undocumented immigrants in my time in the fast food industry. They are amazing people who just want to live here. If we are going to protect them, then we have to do a few things. Repealing, I believe it's SB 4, which prevents sanctuary cities, SB 8, which forces sheriffs to work with ICE, and we need to repeal Operation Lone Star and the massive amount of money that's going into that for pretty much theater rather than actually doing anything. And Texas needs to tell ICE, get out, actually. Texas cannot help ICE at all. It needs to be firm in the fact that, no, you do not get to help us, and we also need to use our authority and political power as representatives to help organize people on the local level like Minnesota has, so that we can keep track of ICE sightings and also make sure that our immigrant brothers and sisters are evacuated from that area before they get kidnapped.
Thank you, thank you. And how about you? What do you suggest we do at the local level to counter ICE?
You know, Rachel Maddow is one of my heroes, and she had a really great segment on Monday about community after community after community that went to their county board or city councils and said, no ICE detention centers in my backyard. And, you know, so that's number one. I mean, you can do that and mobilize, and so that's just boots on the ground, and do not let up. So no concentration camps, ICE facilities in there. The other thing is that we have to have the rule of law. Custom and Border Patrol can only, by law, operate within 100 miles of the border. North Texas is not within 100 miles of the border. So, you know, rule of law is really important. Aaron mentioned the Sheriff's Department with the new law that just passed of being obliged to work with ICE and CB, Custom and Border Patrol. So I'd like to see the repeal of that. Defund Operation Lone Star. I would not say 100% because there are some, you know, people on the border who do need some protection for private property and public property. But you know, we could probably defund that once we get into the legislature and get rid of Abbott and get rid of Dan Patrick, and to flip that and use that money. Racial profiling is yet another problem. I think training with the police forces that we have and sheriff department would be appropriate to remind them what the rule of law is, and also, you know, where we can partner up with organizations like ACLU to sue those departments would be great.
Excellent. Thank you, HG98 candidates. CD24, it's a little bit of a different tweak to the same question. And basically, we've asked the HG98 to address how they would handle that at the local level. So thank you for that. Switching to a national and being potentially in Congress, how would you approach immigration policy and enforcement in a way that both upholds border security and reflects the values and needs of our immigrant communities?
Okay, I think it's simple. I think number one, you get ICE off the streets. I mean, we can defund the whole damn thing, and when we create some good policy, we can make another regulatory body or a law enforcement body to take care of it, because ICE has terrorized the American people. And they go out there and they call these protesters domestic terrorists, when ICE itself is a domestic terrorist organization. So, we give everybody a year. Every undocumented immigrant in the country, you have a year to go get digitally fingerprinted, to get registered. We're going to see if you have an actual criminal background, because we know that's what voters want. We don't want dangerous criminals. We do want people that are here working, seeking a better life, or seeking the American dream. So we give it a year, we call off the dogs, we get rid of those people, we throw some of them in jail, and we can even extend the statute of limitations at the federal level so that we can go back and go after a lot of these bad actors, because America's tired of no accountability for this stuff. So after the year, then we work on a secure border, but a secure border looks differently when you actually have a population that is documented and the government is focused on removing people who are actually dangerous people, okay? When I was 14 years old, I was the only white kid on a Mexican brick crew. And I did that for about a year, and I liked it, and I'm still close to some of those people at this point in my life. Some of them are my supporters, and their kids, were born American citizens, and I grew up with some of these people. I've been in the construction industry. For 5 years, I've been consulting with Rice University on immigration labor studies because I've had companies all over the Gulf Coast after hurricanes, and it is impossible to complete construction in the southern part of the United States without using undocumented labor. They're so necessary for our economy in construction and in agriculture. So it's very important. And then once people are able to get registered, they get at least a temporary work permit. Now they're paying taxes, okay? Now we're moving the criminals. What's the problem that's left?
All right, thank you. Kevin.
Thank you. So I want to contextualize this for a moment. My wife came here as an undocumented immigrant at 15 years old, escaping violence in Honduras. She lived in this country undocumented for many years, struggling to work, to provide. I've gone through the system with her. She has her citizenship today, and she is now an officer in the Texas Army National Guard. These are the people that are being villainized today. And it angers me with the dehumanizing rhetoric that we hear on a daily basis for people trying to make a better life for themselves and their family. And then we see it, the dehumanization, turn into violence and turn into policy and get funded. And today, ICE has more funding than the United States Marine Corps. And they're going around targeting people that look like my wife and speak Spanish like my son. It is unacceptable. So what we need to do is we need to impeach and indict Kristi Noem. We need to defund ICE. We need to restructure the Department of Homeland Security. We need to provide more funding for the immigration judges who are on the border. We need to make sure we're targeting human trafficking, drug trafficking, and we need to make sure that we're balancing safety with what we need here in the country and what the people need as they come into the country. Right. We need a little taste of empathy, I believe, in our society today.
Well, I will second the taste of empathy, but one other thing we need to do is take the profit out of immigrant detention. There's a center being built near here, and there was a $30 million no-bid contract for the study, okay? $30 million no-bid contract. This is big business. So what do we need to do? This is a key point of accountability. We talk about smart government. We need to hold the executives in these companies accountable for cruelty. We need to hold them accountable for human rights violations. We don't do that with these for-profit companies. We don't do that with ICE. We don't do that anywhere. We have a serious lack of accountability in the way we handle immigration. And that's got to get fixed. It must get fixed. So, secondly, we do have to balance immigration, the enforcing the law with the need for immigrants to come in. We need immigrants. My videographer, Can, we're helping her with her immigration, with her I-765 Do you know what a pain that is? Do you know what it is a pain? Why should it be so difficult for a talented person to come here to America and be able to work? It's absolutely ridiculous. So we need to streamline the process. We need to ensure if somebody is a criminal, yeah, they are deported if they're a criminal causing a problem, but the whole process needs to be streamlined, and we need to create accountability in our immigration system.
Thank you. I'm going to get the mic back down to Aaron. And it's a sad commentary on our Congress when they actually did have a comprehensive immigration bill. And guess who killed it? Donald Trump. Right? So here we are with today's circumstances. Well, we've certainly learned a lot about our candidates this evening, didn't we? We touched on a lot of the pressing issues of the time, both at the local and the state and the county level. So now let's hear closing comments from our candidates. We're going to do a little reverse order. We're going to start with Aaron from HE 98, and each candidate will have 3 minutes for their closing sale.
Folks, you've heard a lot from us, but at the end of the day, our campaigns live and die on you guys. Whether you're going to vote for us or volunteer or donate, we rely on you guys for us to win. And the choice of whoever is going to be facing the Republican during the primary and win is going to be you. I am fighting for you. I am fighting because we deserve better than the governments and country that we have been set with for years. We deserve health care that covers everyone. We deserve housing that is affordable. We deserve the best education system possible that doesn't put people in debt for higher education and actually treats students and teachers as important. I admit, as you can obviously tell, I am not traditional. I'm a former school janitor, I'm a McDonald's worker, but I understand the reality that people in this district are facing every single day. I have lived that. I have lived the collapse of stability. So I understand what needs to be done and the consequences of out-of-touch politicians when they pass policies in Austin. We deserve better, and I need you guys to either volunteer, to donate, or to just vote for me in the next election. I need you guys to help because we deserve better.
Hi there. So thank you so much for your attention tonight and coming, and I don't think anybody left, so kudos to you and to my colleagues up here. One of the things that I got sidetracked is I believe that in our true Texas values, and that is bodily autonomy. It's who we love. It's freedom to religion. It's our democracy. And I am more than happy to go up against a Republican, whoever comes out of the primary, and say, you know what, MAGA values are not true Texas values. True Texas values are, prosperity and all those things. And I am just a big fan of personal freedom. I want to tell you a story. I went to a conference, and this is probably going to screw me up, but I went to a conference on cannabis, and I was talking to this veteran, and he was telling me how much the CBD helped him. And you guys, it's more in your wheelhouse. But he said the Veterans Administration, the department, was not helping him. So he moved over. He said, I want to do the CBD protocol. And they said, okay, you can do that, but I'm cutting your disability benefits. And they did. He was having 100 epileptic seizures a day. Now he has 2 a year. So it's people like that, I always cry. It's people like that I really feel like I can get there and help. And I know I'm a policy nerd, but I want to improve ballot access. I want to make sure that women have a right to choose. I've been working for that. Thought we had it done, since I was 15 years old. So this is a really important topic for me, and it's an important topic for everyone, young young men and women. I told my son, he said, oh, I don't really care about that. I said, oh yeah, what about child support, honey? So anyway, I want to fight for you. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to go work really hard for your vote. And God willing, I will get to Austin and I will work really hard for you there also. I need volunteers. Mostly I need volunteers. I need contributions, but we can talk about that later. But I promise you that I will do everything in my power to flip this seat blue and carry on the wonderful tradition that we started last Saturday.
I believe the strength of a nation can be judged by the health and successfulness of their middle class. And that's one thing that has happened in America, is that the policies that are being drawn up either benefit the ultra-wealthy, corporations, or special interests backed by ultra-wealthy corporations. So we have to look at what's best for the country as a whole. And it's unfortunate that more people within government don't understand that. Because if you look at the country and you look at the middle class, and if we build policies where they have easy access to home ownership, they have good quality health care, they have life balance where they don't have to work 2 jobs to maintain that. What happens is wealthy people are always going to do well. As long as there's money moving in the middle class, the wealthy people are going to do fine. But if there's money moving in the middle class, that also means there's upward mobility for people that are poor, people that have less resources. And it's a shame that despite the fact that that would be very successful for the wealthy people, they say, no, we want more. We want more than that. We don't want there to be a middle class. Because if we suck the wealth from the middle class up here, then everyone else can just be poor and we will rule over them. Well, I think America has caught on. And I think that we need to ride this wave and make sure that we're sending people to Congress who are ready to fight for regular people, fight for affordability. And I will tell you, listen, I don't go out there screaming Medicare for all, because I don't know that Medicare for all is the best plan. But if we do what we need to do in these midterms, right around the corner, we may have the political ability to really take a serious step towards single payer. It's going to hurt Wall Street, guys. A lot of the things that need to happen in this country are going to hurt Wall Street. So you need to realize, aside from MAGA, Wall Street, unfortunately, is our biggest adversary. You have to rally behind people who understand that and people who would rather stand up to that rather than go play the Wall Street game. I don't play the stock market. I don't necessarily even believe in the structure of the public corporation, because if you look at history and you look at what will happen with unbridled capitalism, I'm a capitalist, I'm a business guy, okay? But unbridled capitalism and corporatism, where we will go spend unlimited amounts of money to change government policy in ways that benefit us to the detriment of the American people, that has to stop. Y'all please visit my website, electtj.com. I also need volunteers and donations. And thank you guys for having me here tonight.
Thank you all so much for coming. I look forward to speaking with you in the back as well. I want to talk a little bit about my campaign first. And we've raised around $120,000 from over 1,800 individual contributors. And about 80% of that is from people right here in the district. And so I just want to say first and foremost, thank you all so much. I am here because of you. I'm here for you. And I'm here with you. And so we have a real chance at coming together, continuing the successes that we saw with Taylor Ramet's race, flipping a district that is very, very winnable. But again, it's going to take all of us to do that. So we need to get together and volunteer, again, for me, kevinfortexas.com. We're looking forward to seeing you all out there on the campaign trail. But then what, right? We're going to win. I can see it. It's a prophecy, all right? It's a bold prophecy. But then we need to get into Congress and we need to make real change. We can't incrementally move our way forward while we pander to the right and let them continue their slide into fascism, taking us all with us. Boldness in policy, boldness in leadership, and I promise to you that I will fight for each and every one of you because I'm here with you. I'm here in the district. I have a son. We're raising a family. We work. We're here to make a difference and to make a future that we can all be proud of. So thank you all so much again for coming. I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
Well, thank you all for coming. Tremendous turnout. What made me jump into this race? I don't have to do this, right? I'm a successful entrepreneur. I teach at SMU Cox Business School. I don't have to do this. I was watching what happened in 2024, and it was so freaking disheartening seeing what happened in 2024. My mom was a lifelong Democrat, and she said to me, if you don't like something, get off your ass. She did. So that's what I'm doing. And I launched my campaign on July 7th, 2025, and that was my 100th birthday gift to her. She would have been 100 that day. Okay? So what am I doing? When I saw how we ran in 2025 and what we're going to be running, or what we thought we would be running in 2024, and what we look to be running in 2026, I said, you know what? We're here running the same campaign. It's the same campaign as we ran in 2024. That's not going to win in a district like 24. I just don't see it. So what did I do? I jumped in. I talked to thousands of people in the district, and I created a platform built entirely around people in the district. People will vote for a platform they own, not for the 2024 platform. We can win this, but Beth is a tough competitor. And I'm going to leave you with this. As primary voters, you have to first remember the people outside this room, the general election voters, are different than us. And you have a critical hiring decision to make right now. You've got 3 people you can hire to run against Beth Van Dyne. You can hire 2024. You've got it. You can do that. Or you can hire to win. You can have the courage to take a different step, to take a new direction, and go with the candidate from the outside. Go with someone from the outside and go after Beth Van Dyne. So hire to win. Thank you.
Another round of applause for our candidates. Thank you, guys. Well, I hope you thought that this was as thoughtful and an energetic forum as I did, and I was very honored to be asked to be your host this evening, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Of course, though, we do have a few reminders, because it is going to be a very, very busy year, and this month of February is no different. First of all, we need to remember what our voting dates are. When's early voting? February 17th through the 27th. When is election day? And we need to vote all the way down the... This is really good. You guys are... Did you look at the cheat sheet? Absolutely every race matters. And that's one of the things as Democrats we have been remiss of doing, is voting down the ballot, particularly on a big year like this, where it's a big midterm election. We just can't go out for the big positions. We need to make sure we go down the ballot, especially when this year, as Allison said, it is the first time in almost 20 years that we have had a Democratic candidate on every open position. There will be someone for you to vote for on your ballot. Another key event, on Wednesday, February 18th, a fundraiser that's going to be hosting Vicki Goodwin, who's the Lieutenant Governor. Kate Brennan from HG 98 and Kate Dusen from HG 94 will take place right in this room again, hosted by Scott White, who is the former HG 98 candidate. There's Scott in the back. Scott, stand up real quick, because you deserve a round of applause for hosting that for us, for being a past candidate, and for being a badass Democratic supporter. Another key event in February 20th, the Tarrant County Democratic Party Beyond Darkness fundraiser. That is going to be huge. We need to take advantage of this momentum. This is a paid event. There's still early bird pricing that's available, but you need to get those tickets soon. This will be an event that will sell out. Why? Because we've got some amazing speakers. We've got Texas Representative Nicole Collier. We've got the Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scudder is going to be there as well. So that is our key fundraiser to raise money so we can support these candidates on the stage, get over that finish line. You can sign up for both of those events at the Tarrant County Democratic Party website, which is tarrantdemocrats.org. And everyone should have that, hopefully have that information. Again, I'd like to thank Dr. Allison Campola for coming out tonight on her incredibly busy schedule and kicking us off this evening. I want to thank our organizing volunteers, everyone who came together to make this happen, and of course our key sponsors, Hillary Benedito, who is also our main organizer and timekeeper tonight. Kathy and Kevin Patrick, are they here? Can I stand up? Kathy and Kevin Patrick. Sally and Patrick Pearson in the back. The incredible Caroline Sherman, once again. And again, Scott White, thank you again for your donation to help put this together. So as we wrap up tonight, again, I want to thank our candidates for showing up, for speaking honestly and openly, and reminding us why this work matters. And thank you to all of you for showing up and being part of something bigger, because that's something that matters, is our democracy at stake and on the line. What we are seeing is not a ripple. We are seeing a wave, and it's already hitting Tarrant County, as we saw this weekend. We saw what Taylor's victory can do for us, and we're going to keep seeing it every time one of us knocks on the door, makes a call, donates, supports our candidates, and decides to get out and vote. So ride the wave. Bring a friend. Check your voter registration. That's going to be an issue between now and the midterms. And don't forget that waves only work when people come together and create that movement and move together. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for staying engaged. Now let's go and win some elections. Good night.